In a special follow-up episode, our guest today returns after the original interview that has been watched by millions on YouTube. His insight into maintaining success well into your 70s proves that we can all stay strong throughout our lives. He's idolized by people all over the world for an incredible approach to life in both mind and body. His honest, logical, and spiritual manner has brought levels of focus and success that most of us can only dream of through perseverance and physical perfection. There's some great lessons here that have not been covered before by Frank, so please join me in welcoming hero of bodybuilding, Frank Zane, back to the Escape Your Limits podcast.
Back in the 70s then, is that where it all sort of started? So I guess you had competitions, someone like Joe Weider who was, I guess, had the magazine, and then all the different people like yourself and Arnold and all the others. Do you think that's kind of where the whole thing sort of started? Was it?
Well, it was started before that. There were bodybuilding competitions like the AAU Mr America, which was the main one, and then the IFB or the NABA Mr Universe in London, England. That was the one. Right. That was the prestigious one. Of course, I had to win those. But by doing so, I did it at a time where the IFBB was against them. I sort of got blackballed a little bit. I didn't really dealt me politically with the IFBB, but AAU was started like John Grimmick in 1940s. That's when all that started. It's 1940s, and Steve Reeves is like Mr. America 49, I think. And so that has always been there. It just that the Weeders hopped on it and really took bodybuilding to another level.
Do you think that's what it was then, having someone like a sort of an entrepreneur type that went like Joe?
Then of course Arnold Schwarzenegger helped a lot too. When he got a lot of publicity with the Pumping Iron movie. Got a lot of publicity, and went out and promoted himself and the movie. Right. And of course, it made his movie career, his superhero thing. But he's really done a lot for bodybuilding. He's promoted shows all over the world. He has his Arnold Classic in Columbus, Ohio every year, and he has these all over the world. He has one in South America, in Brazil. He has them in Europe.
Yeah, that movie, got me into bodybuilding, and doing the podcast. Everybody I speak to in fitness, they all mention the movie. It seemed to have been such a...
That was the kickoff.
Really?
That movie. Yeah, I missed out on a lot of good publicity by not being more of a part of it.
What was that a choice? Or? Yeah. Right.
Well, the Gold's Gym in those days, it was like 1974. And actually, I helped them raise money for it, too, at the Whitney Museum.
Really?
The posing exhibition we gave there, me, Arnold, and Ed Corney posed at Whitney Museum, and on a circular dais for about 5,000 people packed into it. And they raised enough money for that, for the film, to make the film.
Who did, was that a Weider? Did Joe Weider?
No.
No, he wasn't.
George Butler, Charles Gaines.
Right.
Of course, nobody ever told me that was happening, so I just went along because it was fun for me. But I got my expenses paid. I never knew that you could get paid bigger money if you held out and negotiated.
Really?
Because I just liked doing it. In the 70s, that was a thrill for me, being in California and training with the top guys and competing and winning top titles. Come on. Yeah. The little skinny guy from Pennsylvania. Who knew? Yeah. So, it was really great. And also what happened is, over the years in the 70s, my training situation got better and better and better. Like I moved to a nicer place, better living conditions and better training conditions and better job and more time off and all that. And I put it into my training. It was an investment, and I just grew with it with opportunities.
With Pumping Iron, at the time then, was there a feeling that movie was going to be what it ended up being, or was it just like, this guy had an idea and he wanted to put the camera on what was happening? How would you describe what?
Well, they came into Gold's Gym with their cameras. There was a lot. It was an uproar. You couldn't train there. So I went to Vince's gym in North Hollywood for 2 months instead, so I could work out. And I knew it was going to be about Arnold.
Really?
Yeah, you could see it was. They just shot a lot of stuff. I think 190 hours. And he says, my job is to come in here and say smart things to the camera. It's like, yeah, I know. It's all about you. Why wouldn't you be like that? So, I could have been co-star in that. Yeah. Could have been his training partner.
Yeah. What did you, at the time, were you just had other things on your mind, and did you, or?
Yeah, my life wasn't really settled. I was still teaching. I was teaching school, and my living situation wasn't too good. It was like up in the air at that point. Yeah. It was a bit unsettled, and it got really good the next year. What happened is I made such a poor showing in '75. I was really embarrassed by it. And so in 76, I went all out and I got in incredible shape.
Really?
My best shape up to that point, such good shape that it took 40 years for this to happen, but Muscle and Fitness awarded me greatest bodybuilder ever award based on the photos from back there.
Wow.
But you know, like that last shot up there on the walls, that back pose is from 76. I was really, really muscular. And it was controversial. I mean, I thought I should have won, but then, you know, you always do. But they gave it to Franco Colombo, who was in shape, but entirely different kind of body, just short and squatty and a lot of muscle, but not much aesthetic going on there.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's what the judges voted for, so, you know. And so what happened is that this was funny. The next year, before, I don't know what it was. Well, it was before the contest in 77. I had a dream. I was really into dream work at the time. And I was driving in my car, and Franco Colombo was in the passenger seat. And we stopped in Courtdale, which was right near where I lived in Edwardsville. And he got out of the car, and he walked up the hill into the cemetery. There was a cemetery up there. And then I realized what that dream meant a couple weeks later when he almost tore his leg off in a World's Strongest Man competition where he was running with the refrigerator on his back. He tripped and fell, and his leg went out to the side like this, and he was out.
Wow.
He was gone. So it was a wide open field for me. Of course, there were other guys too.
And you dreamt that happened, and did at the time, did you relate? Did you kind of have a feeling to say, you know, something might happen, or was
no,
you didn't realize?
I didn't say anything. I was just open to, you know, experience. But I always made a point of, I always followed. My motto at the time was, I live my life by dreams and omens. I look for signs. And so I'm sort of intuitive like that. You know, I can sense things. And I had the sense of that. Like you always, for example, you always know how you do in a contest after prejudging.
Really?
Yeah. If everybody is nice to you and wants to know, you guess you probably won. But if people are avoiding you, there's a reason for it.
Yeah.
So, but it was valuable.
What were some of the people at the time that you built good friendships from at that period? You know, who were some of you like? Did you have like mates that you used to hang around with, or was it a very solitary experience when all that was going on?
Well, you know, from the time I got to California up until let's say the mid 70s, social life was basically me, Arnold, Dave Draper, Franco Colombo, and the guys at the gym.
Really?
Yeah. That was our social life, and you know, we're all pretty close.
Did you used to hang out after? Yeah. Where did you used to do?
Well, Arnold was going to Santa Monica City College. I helped him with his math. He was taking, you know, college algebra, and
really,
he didn't have a clue. I said, "Look, Arnold, I don't like this stuff either, but this is how you do it." So I helped him with that. But you know, we worked out. I mean, I taught school during the year, and it was, you know, 7 to 3. That was my working hours. And then I had, you know, summers off. It was like 180 days a year. It's like more like 150 days a year to work.
Right.
With time off.
And
so, but it worked good for me.
And did you used to sort of go to restaurants, or, you know, did you like have fun, go to bars and that kind of thing together, or was it very just the gym?
Within bodybuilding constraints, we would go out and party, but you know, we weren't really big drug users or boozers or anything like that.
No.
So we lived in a pretty austere environment.
Really?
But, you know, it got really strict in the summer and right before the competitions in the fall. The rest of the year, you know, we relaxed a bit, like around Christmas time. You know, we weren't on our diets.
Yeah.
I know Arnold was never in shape except for the shows. The summer he started getting in shape, and he got in great shape. But you know, rest of the time, no.
No. So there weren't any wild parties when you was like in that?
No,
time?
not really.
No.
Not really.
So it looked like that on, you know, when you looked at it, it looked like it was all fun and showbiz, but it was all work most of the time. Then was it?
Well, you know, I mean, we were pretty congenial, but when we were competing, if we weren't in the same contest, we helped each other out. Like in 1970, NABA Mr. Universe, there's 3 contests there. There's amateur Mr. Universe, professional Mr. Universe, and Miss Universe Bikini. And in 1970, I won the amateur, Arnold won the professional, and my wife won the Miss Universe. And so clean sweep. And he was like, we were like coach for each other. He would tell me stuff about how people were reacting. And one thing that he really helped me with was, I had this pose. It's like my most sensational pose, the vacuum, where I can pull my hands through and I pull my stomach way in and everything just flares out. And I was doing that in the middle of my routine and getting a big response from it. And he said, look, he says, you really need to do that at the end of your routine. And he was right. And from that point on, I did it at the end of my routine, and it always brought the house down. So you got to remember, you do your first thing, your best pose first and last.
Really?
First is good because you tend to repeat it more. The first thing you see, you start running it through your mind again. And the last thing you remember because it's the last thing you did, you left them with.
Yeah.
So things like that. And we used to practice posing together. We'd have posing clinics.
Really?
We critique each thing.
Was it like you see some of the movies now, but did you used to actually like the Muscle Beach, which is there now? Was that a place? Did that exist back then?
The real Muscle Beach was in Santa Monica near the pier, and it lasted up until I think the late 50s.
Oh, okay.
And then they tore it down because public complaints was about something. They used to have big crowds there on hand balancing and everything. If you look at some of the old films, it was really fantastic. I know Jack LaLanne used to come down from San Francisco Bay Area just for Sunday to be part of that. But they moved all of it into a hotel in Santa Monica, and it was like they called it the Dungeon.
Oh, right.
And that was the end of that. And then what transpired in the meantime, when I got to California in '69, there was the Venice Beach Weight Pen. It was an area about 500 square feet with fenced off and then just outdoors weight equipment. Wasn't covered or anything. We go down there and work out sometimes. And now it's morphed into a huge thing. It takes up a lot of that area, and they have contests and everything there. And they call that Muscle Beach.
Right.
It's not.
It's not.
It's the new Muscle Beach.
Okay.
I wrote a song about that to try to correct it.
Really?
Yeah, and I did it there, and I gave them the song, and they buried it in a time capsule somewhere in the sand.
And was when you used to go down there then, was it like, were you famous at the time so people would come and...
No.
Like, they weren't. You just work out and...
Yeah, not undiscovered. Actually, sometimes the kids from my school would come down and see me down there. And Mr. Zane over there. But, it wasn't really like people were stopping us on the street. Not until after the late 70s.
Really?
Yeah.
And then you felt... Did you feel then that you were sort of like gone from being an unknown teacher to be a bit famous then?
Yeah.
What was that like?
Well, I liked it, just living the bodybuilding lifestyle. I was finally able to do it full time starting in '77. Up till that time, no, I always was working. I always had a teaching job. Plus going to graduate school too. So in the meantime, I got 3 degrees from 3 universities. A BA from Pennsylvania and a BS from Cal State Los Angeles in psychology for 5th year, and then a master's degree in psychology in Cal State San Bernardino in 1990. So I figured, well, that's enough of that.
Was it difficult to stay focused? Because I guess through that time you also had the competitions going on. I suppose coming from the East Coast and being in California and then starting to get popular, was that kind of a bit of a distraction? And
no, not really.
No.
Because I did it during, when I was training. I wasn't doing that when I was training hard. I was just training to keep it up. You might call it maintenance. So actually, I was following all the rules, but it just wasn't my sole focus. That didn't happen until the summer. Then I didn't work. I just trained into the fall. But then after I won the Olympia, I didn't go back to teaching. I just had all that time to do whatever I wanted. And it's probably the hardest thing is not only winning it is difficult enough, but to keep winning it is even harder. Because you have to be better than you were, as well as better than everybody else in the show. And that takes some doing. So
yeah.
I really, and then life has a way of coming in on that. Things in your life that still loose ends you have to take care of, and sometimes eventually it got the best of me in 1980. I had a bad accident before the Olympia, and getting third place, and that was the end of the streak. And then tried 2 more times to win it. I wanted to win it 4 times, but it never happened.
Was there a time where it sort of went from being like when you was a teacher and it was like this dream, California, to become, did it flip to then become like a business and it's like, oh, actually I need to be winning these? Did that ever happen, or was it just always, that kind of
I never thought about making money from it because there wasn't any there to be made. I just thought, well, this is pretty nice. This is happening now. Sort of new to me. Then I realized that I could really make a living off of it. I actually have done it ever since. Not that I haven't competed for 1983, but I'm still doing it, still in the game.
Yeah.
But in a different way, in an educative way, to to teach people the correct way to train. I think that's my contribution, is that, and to do programs and to keep writing and adding to the knowledge, because I think people really need to know how to work out correctly.
Yeah.
You can't just go to a gym and do the wrong stuff and expect anything to happen.
No.
And the scene in a lot of these health clubs that's out there now, it's just not good. It's a lot of unfocused people in the gym that are there for maybe reasons not conducive to getting in great shape. When I went to the gym in those days, I always went when there's nobody there.
Yeah, I like that.
So I had access to the equipment because I don't need those people. I did train with some partners sometimes as well. Up to a certain point before the last maybe 2 months before show, I'd be training with somebody.
Who was some of the people that you enjoyed working out with?
My wife was a really good training partner in '79. I trained with Arnold a few times for contests. He was always really
Was he a good
very strict
training partner?
Very good. A guy, Mr. Ulf Bengtsson from Sweden, was in 1977. I trained with him. And the thing is, you get a training partner that will do exactly what you do, and the only time you rest is when he's doing his set and you're spotting him, so you have that kind of close-knit focus, and that prevents people to come in. You don't want them coming in and bothering you. You don't want anybody to break your focus. It gets to be so. And so the more people that are around, the more likely that is to happen. And people think nothing of it. They think it's okay to talk to you when you're working out, but it's not. Not for me. I mean, I sort of maybe took that too far. It was like that a lot when I was in the gym. And sometimes I didn't have a right to be like that because he wasn't training for anything. But it was just a habit.
So when you were working out then, did say, for example, with Arnold, were you talking, or were you just like, right, I'm on my set, and you'd be focused either on pushing him and pushing yourself? What was that dynamic like? Because I guess there's probably not a lot of movies like about that.
Well, there really wasn't a lot of dialogue. We were just basically, we knew what we were doing next, and when he was doing it, I would watch him.
Right.
And if he needed help, a spot, then I would help, just assist a little bit. And that's all. Then I would keep people out of it.
Did you used to sort of, before it, kind of discuss what you were going to do? And
no.
You didn't?
Well, we knew. We knew there were like 3 different workouts we were doing. In those days, we were doing chest and back on Mondays and Thursdays, legs on Tuesdays and Fridays, and deltoids and arms on Wednesdays and Saturdays, like 6 days a week like that. And it was pretty intense. It was really too much training for me. I modified that where I would knock it down to I'd train 3 days in a row and rest the 4th day instead of going for 6 days. It was, toward the end, you're just wiped out. Yeah. And so this way I felt good all the time and strong, and I made good progress that way.
What was the actual intensity of those workouts like? Were you sort of giving everything you can, or were you, because I know now you're sort of more, I guess, sensible about things, but in those times, were you, did you leave everything?
Well, it was all about lifting heavier weights all the time. We'd go heavier every set. We'd add weight, and we didn't. And what I learned in 1979 was the value of doing slower negatives. In other words, lowering the weight more slowly because you're stronger there. You might not be able to bench press 300 pounds, but you sure as hell can let it down to your chest very slow, right. And that's going to build a lot of muscle doing that.
Really.
And I trained that way in 1982, and I got as big as I ever was that year doing stuff that way. But in those days, it was all about just letting the weight down as fast as you wanted to, so you got some momentum to drive it up. It was always about getting it on the positive. And then later in my career, it became more about getting it on the positive and the negative.
Right.
Then also stretching between sets. These are things that people don't normally do. Like nobody stretches between sets, but we did that, and it helps you get a better pump.
Did you have someone like on chest and that? Did you have someone like helping you down on the negatives, or was it all just? Because I guess after a while that
No, the negative do yourself.
You did yourself.
Yeah, just let it down yourself. I mean, you could. There's people that do negatives only.
Yeah.
You know, I remember when I was training in 1982 for the Olympia. I was by myself at this gym at the Zane Haven place, and there's nobody there, just me, and I was training, and I went heavier. I would work up, for example, I'd work up to an incline bench press with 300 pounds.
Right.
And basically, I would start and work my way up, and I would go maybe 255 for 6, 275 for 4, 285 for 2, and then 300 for 1. And the fact is I could do reps with 300 if I did them in the normal way, but doing it this way, I would do a 10-second negative, take 10 seconds and bring it down to my chest, and then ram it up.
With a free bar or with a machine?
With a straight bar, with
Straight
an Olympic bar, yeah.
Wow. On your own?
Huh?
On your own?
And there was nobody there, and I knew, I was absolutely sure I would make it, and I always did. Because I myself psyched out so much. I said to myself, well, I had a saying that if a person speaks the truth long enough, eventually it becomes law. And so what I was doing, I was always saying things the way, I was calling the shots the way they were. I wasn't lying about anything. It's about my workout, this is what I'm doing, this is what I intend to do. And I was keeping a journal there, so I had this process where I would basically write down in my journal what I was going to do, like as if I've already done it.
Really?
And so I'd write it down. I'd put 300 times 1, 10 seconds. Then I announced to the world, I'd say out loud, even though there's nobody there to hear me, I'd say out loud, I'd say, 1 rep, 10-second negative with 300 pounds. And I'd always do it because it was written law. And I had explained it to it, vocalized the line, written it down, and vocalized it. You know, I mean, I used to do it all the time, just psych myself up. And I learned the secret of winning. What's the secret of winning, you think?
What's the secret of winning? Wow, I wouldn't know. You're probably a better expert on that than me.
I learned the secret of winning. The secret of winning is to win it ahead of time.
Right, okay.
Now, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't, hang out with judges and get to be their friend and, take them out to dinner and all that. Although that can help.
Really?
But I'm not saying that. Basically, what I'm saying is you believe you're the winner and you act like the winner. You don't flaunt it and you don't use tentative speech. For example, if somebody says, what do you think your chances are this year? And I would get that before I won the Olympia. They'd say that to me and I'd say, my intention is to win, simply.
Right.
And then after that I won it once, they'd say, well, what do you think your chances are? I says, I'm already Mr. Olympia. So I was actually, and then I would prove it to them again. And so I just acted as if.
So you
behave
said
as
your
if.
intention was, even though, and that's an interesting question because I spoke to a lot of people about this subject, and I know we had a bit of a conversation last time. So how, and help me understand this, what's the difference then of like, sort of living in the future? So, because I guess when you're training, you're very present with what you're doing. You're thinking, you told me last time, you're conscious about the workout, the muscle, you're saying it. What's the difference between like saying and intending to win, but being in the present? Because I know one of the things I struggled with is, you can be living in a place where you're not, and you can be ignoring sort of what's going on at the moment. You're not conscious enough with everything, so you're kind of thinking too much in the future. How do you balance that situation of like having this goal and dream to win, but still kind of being conscious about where you are? How do you?
Well, see, it's not fake it before you make it. It's not that at all.
Right.
Because I wasn't faking it. In other words, for me to I had to actually believe that and be certain about it. And so there's that spectrum of faith from doubt to certainty. And I wanted to be at certainty. And so there was no room for doubt. And so I didn't let doubt cross my mind. And basically what I did is I backed up what I had to know what I looked like from every angle and every pose. And that's where the photos came in. Every weekend I'd go with my wife and we'd take photos. That's what you see some of this up here. Basically we do that every weekend. And I'd get a lot of photos. Some weren't that good. I'd put them aside, and the ones that were really good, I would use those for my publications and for my publicity. And I would see what I looked like ahead of time, so I knew what I looked like. Now I realized also that nobody else knew that. Everybody that's going on stage didn't know it. They're going on there blind.
Right.
They think they know what they look like. They've weighed themselves. They've measured themselves. They've taken body fat percentage measurements. Those are not the thing.
Right.
Those are description of the thing. Their friends have told them how great they are. They believe them. They're not the experts. They're acting like they know something. And so basically, I didn't fall for any of that. I didn't need anybody else because I had the photos. I had my wife, who was very honest with me with this. She would never tell me I was any good if I wasn't.
Right. And what would have happened if, in one of those situations, you wouldn't have won? Would you still have been sort of content with that process of like what I guess in life in general, if you have this intention, that's what you're going to do, but it doesn't happen, does that sort of blow your world? And
well, I knew that each time that it didn't happen, I wasn't entirely into it. Is that things have crept in that I allowed to come in. I really wasn't as focused as I was before.
Really?
Yeah, I could. Each year was like that, and I could see the writing on the wall, and I knew when my time was up.
Right.
So finally, in 1983, my last competition, I got 4th place, and I said, "There's my 4." I was after 4 Olympias. I got 4 place. And you could protest it all you want. I could protest that year. Samir Banu, who won, is in great shape, but the other 2 guys, I could see them beating me. Samir was sort of, it all depends on what you like.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
And with bodybuilding, it's so subjective.
It's subjective, and the thing I got to me finally, I was sort of glad I was retiring at age 41, 1983, because I couldn't take any more of these people, has-beens who never were, telling me what I should look like.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense. And, that's not what I want to look like anyway, these people are telling me. Joe Weider always said, "Oh, you got to get bigger." No, that's not for me. That's not my strong. That's not how I'll do it, how I'll win. Finally, when I did it the way I wanted to, I got the look I want. That's really what I liked. Yeah. I liked those years where I was lean and muscular. 79, my best year. 76, great year. 83, great year. 78, really good year. Those are my favorite years. Well, I was in the kind of condition that I like to be in.
I suppose it's difficult in that sport where you're being judged by some other people about what good is. It's not like, I suppose it's not like a race where like there's a winner and you can do it. It's, it must be a difficult thing in your mind to say, well, I've won. Did you ever get to that stage where it's like, well, you've won even though someone thinks you've not? Or
well, in 76 I didn't win. But a lot of people said I did. And in a
way,
way,
what did you think in your mind though? Were you a winner that year?
Yeah.
You were.
But there's forces at work that you know nothing about. There's nepotism, a lot of nepotism.
Yeah.
And so you really have to be so good that the contrast is very evident.
Yeah.
And that's always the point. Is so I would do things to distinguish myself from the pack. I wouldn't be in the gym training when everybody else was there. As a matter of fact, I would disappear the last month. Nobody knew where I was. I would never show up in a public place. And I was always under wraps. And so it's like a shock when I came out. People didn't know. And it was like, I wanted to shock people because that's what you had to do. And the thing is, I was competing, almost everybody in the contest was bigger than me. So what do? You have to find ways to get around that. And so the thing about posing is it's an illusion. You have to spin your illusion the right way. Show them exactly what you want them to see and how you want them to see it. For example, in posing, if you pose and you don't hold the pose long enough, people will not really see you. They'll see you, a blurring you. And so by doing that, you can sort of frame what it is you would like to get across.
Like the illusion.
And my style of posing was never like that. I called it statuesque posing, where I would hit a pose and I would hold the pose sometimes for 10 seconds. Now why? Because I wanted everybody to get a good photo of it. That was my main reason, especially my wife. Because I was posing for her. She was right there. I was posing for her, and we got great shots. We got really good shots that we used for posters taken during the competition on stage. And so, also by doing that, you show people you have control, and it develops you too. When you, like, my buddy Fernandez is going to the contest now. He's going to be over Saturday. He's like 4 weeks out, and he's dropping weight's coming down. He's getting more muscular, and the whole thing with him now is more and more and more posing. Just doing that will get you in shape. Some people, they've never done that before, and then they go to a posing workout and they can't believe how sore they are from it. And see, that's what they should be doing, because that's what the contest is about. It's about posing. Now, I want to write the book on posing, because nobody knows what it is. They think it's a display of narcissism. Well, so what? Maybe it is, but there's a point to it. Basically, it's an art form. It's kinetic sculpture. Look at the sculptures from ancient Greece, Rome. Magnificent.
Yeah.
And that's nothing compared to what we're capable of doing today, as far as developing the body. So, developing is what the training is all about, with the weight training and the nutrition, but then posing is what the competition is all about, is how you present yourself, how you look.
Yeah.
And the more you know about how you look, the more confident you can be. Now, there were years when I wasn't as confident, like 1982. I found myself on stage looking up and down at the competition like that.
What was that? Was that more of a mental thing? Because you were still amazing.
It was doubt.
It was doubt. And why did that? Why did
because
you?
Because I knew I could have been better.
Really?
I knew that there were some things I could have done better and been better.
But you didn't do it at the time.
Well, I was on a different track at
Really?
the time. I had my idea, like I wanted to be 200 pounds. Bad idea. You can never keep a body weight figure in mind saying that's what you're going to weigh.
So was that because other people sort of said that that's what you should do, and you weren't really aligned with that?
Part of it. Part of it. I'd been told my whole career I'd need to get bigger. It really wasn't about that so much. It was basically being more complete for me than anything else. More definition and being more complete, having everything developed.
Because I guess I suppose it's like, you can apply that to everything in life. It's like, look, you've got a talent, and you've got, it's like how to make the most out of what you've got. And certainly when you won it, was, you looked at every little detail, every little muscle, every little pose, and you absolutely got the best out of every bit you could have done. It sounds like on, that time, it was like you were then trying to be, would you say you were other people were trying to get you to be someone else that you weren't, and that, did that play a part in it?
I think they were just comparing me to a commonly accepted standard for the time, the bigger the better.
Yeah.
I've sort of wondered about that. Why is it so appealing that bodybuilders be big to win? And when you think about what goes on at a contest, is they're held in auditoriums where most of the people are way in the back. The first couple of rows, they see it a little bit differently. So somebody who is very detailed and in shape will look great up close. But when you get them back further, next to a big guy, like Danny Padilla, who should have won Olympia in 1981, incredible shape. He's 5'2", and he's just very defined and complete. Everything developed. You put him next to Lou Ferrigno at 6'5", not as much definition, but way bigger. And you look at him from the back of the auditorium. Who's going to stand out? Ferrigno.
Yeah.
The little guy gets lost. They're only good up close, which is, I think, how it should be judged. Come on. How about putting us under a microscope? That's the whole concept. But that's the way it is, And now that they have cameras and everything, like they have the Mr. Olympia, the Orleans Auditorium in Las Vegas, it's huge. It's like 8,000 people. It's a big arena. But this big screen, everybody sees it. But that's still two-dimensional. I think it's that.
Yeah. It sounds like it's a
Plus, it's always been like that. Bodybuilding has always been about who's bigger, except the years from 1976 to 83, there was that brief respite of time where they looked at guys under 200 pounds as the winner. Then after that, the monster. I saw in 1983 already that Lee Haney, finishing ahead of me. Here come the monsters. They're back. And it's been like that ever since.
Yeah.
Ever since.
Yeah, it certainly seems as though you were looking at it. It was an art form for you, like everything sculpting, the posing. What were some of the life lessons that you could take from bodybuilding and apply? What you learned from bodybuilding and apply that as lessons in life. Would you, or are there any things that apply to both?
Oh, everything. I think mainly is the one thing is focus. You develop tremendous focus from doing this. The fact that you go into a gym and you got to be totally into what you're doing. And developing the ability to send blood flows to any part of your body you want to control your circulation. That has vast implications for health. The other thing is perseverance. Sticking to something, having a goal, and sticking to it. And not achieving your goal and still sticking to it. And that's the thing is, in a way, I thought a lot about this because, you go through all these things when you don't win. So like, you don't win a contest and your friends are telling you, oh, you should have won. And then you're sort of resentful for a while. And this goes on and you use this to train harder even. And then you get an offer to do a posing exercise, and then you're back in the groove again. It was like that all the time.
Really?
Yeah.
How did you deal with losing?
Well, I asked myself the question, how could I use this in a positive way to help me grow and achieve my goals? And the answer is, well, you didn't win. You still have the same goal. Not so hard. Change the game plan a little bit. Learn what you didn't do right this time. You still have that plan in place. People are looking at you too. A lot of people are saying you should have won. That's the way it was for me in '76. People saying I should have won. Came back in '77 and won. And so, you never know how things are going to work out. It's best not to think. I mean, really, it is. Stop thinking so much. Stop putting everything up here and engaging in what if all the time. What if? You go nuts doing that. The fact is, you don't know. You don't know shit. You don't. You don't know from 1 minute to next what's going to happen. So just flow with it. That's all you can do. I mean, try to be open-minded. Try to be empty.
Is that how you live your life, like that?
Yeah, I endeavor to be that way. That's why I meditate. Basically, I want to clear all this stuff out. And so I want to be blank. I want to have room for things to come into me.
Have you carried that sort of thinking about the past with you instead of does that meditation that you've done for a long time just allow you to let go of?
Yeah. When I'm doing it, basically I do a very simple one where I say a mantra to myself. I use these beats to keep track of it. And after about 10 minutes, I can feel my body shift into a different space. And basically you get to a point also where you lose the sensation of your body if you don't move. It's called off sensation. And I got that sensation very deep when I was in Palm Springs, when I had a couple flotation tanks, saltwater flotation. I did that a lot.
Right.
I logged over 1,000 hours in the tank in the years I had it, and had some really profound experiences. I learned that what's really me exists without the body. So you get into this tank. After you get used to the setting, the water's the same temperature as your body, and if you have like a scratch or something, a sting for a while, that'll go away. After all that goes away, you're left with nothing but an awareness. Your body disappears. And that's what it is. That's what survives. There's a part of you that survives. And I firmly believe this. I think that one of my goals in life is to develop the higher bodies. This is not the only body.
Yeah, because I've read somewhere that you've said that you're developing your mind to go to the next level when you leave this earth, that you want to develop your mind so it goes on. Have I understood that correctly?
There's some really interesting literature out there I have on my Kindle. I just finished reading I've read it a couple times, the Tibetan Book of the Dead. It's all about what happens in the Bardo. That period of time from when you die and you're reborn.
The bardo.
The bardo, it's 49 days in the bardo.
Right.
And it tells you what's going to happen.
Really?
How do they know?
Yeah, I have no idea.
But it's intriguing, and basically it says a lot about meditation. So that if you're a meditator, when you pass away, basically there's a time right when you go that you experience the light. Okay, it's bright and it's vast. It's called the Dharmakaya. It's the three bodies of the Buddhas. Dharmakaya, which is the essence of emptiness. That's what it is. You experience emptiness. It's like the highest state of meditation when you meditate and everything disappears and you're left with pure awareness of being empty.
What is that like? Is that
It's not like anything,
I guess, yeah.
but it's where things happen.
Really?
In that emptiness, things, basically, it's emptiness. That's the essence. And then out of that comes clarity. It's sort of like thought. Thought is optimum when you basically have an open mind, an empty mind, because then you create room for ideas. So the idea is the second, it's called, I forget the name of it. Dharmakaya. There's another one, it's called, it's basically, it indicates clarity. It's I like ideas coming clearer and clearer and clearer. And then the final thing is nirmanakaya. It means the manifestation. It actually happens.
Right.
So that's how things come into being, is emptiness. Things arise out of emptiness. They become clearer and clearer and clearer. And with enough energy, they manifest.
Really?
And that's how everything happens. And I notice that's in my life, is basically I think about things. They come out of being empty, all the great ideas. And then basically I modify, I build on them, and they turn into something, a project, something that's real, so solid.
Do you think that's an important thing to be able to do? Because I guess a lot of, certainly me and a lot of people I talk to, your mind gets cluttered. It's like thinking about what I'm going to do tomorrow, worrying about what happened yesterday, or worrying about what's not happened. And totally the opposite of a clear mind. Mm-hmm. In your experience, your age, is that, is that something to work on, like clear all that crap out of you?
Yes, that's what I do.
Really?
And during the day, I say my mantra too. Sometimes I have a sort of like, I call it my default mantra, is if there's something going on that I don't want to be with, I'll start my mantra up.
And that's a secret mantra you've never shared before,
It's not secret. I actually have about 8 of them that I use at different levels.
What sort of things do you sort of, what's an example of a mantra?
Well, there's one that if you want to go beyond something, if you want to get past something, go beyond.
Yeah.
It goes there. This one's in Sanskrit. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhi swaha. It means gone. Gate means gone. It means gone, completely gone, gone without a trace. Hooray! That's how you might translate that.
Where did you get that from? Is that
It's a Buddhist mantra.
It's a Buddhist mantra, right?
It's from I think the Diamond Sutra. The sutras are like sayings and meetings. They used to have all these meetings, like big assemblies of Buddha and Bodhisattvas, all that. And he would teach, basically, and basically they would come up with mantras. Basically, there's certain mantras, like for example, there's one called well, it's for, basically there's something they call the tutelary deity that you build while you're alive through visualizing, and it's your deity that you have mentally created that protects you. And there's a mantra for that, and I think the mantra is Om Vajrapani Haragriva Garuda Hum Fat. And that wards off evil spirits.
Really?
Yeah, because they're basically characters in Buddhist mythology that basically would protect you against obstacles if you called on them. That's the belief. And see, these mantras are basically formulas for higher awareness to crowd out negative thinking. That's the whole point. And I say Mayan. Mayan is basically, I take refuge in the Buddha of infinite light and boundless life. Translated, it means that. But basically, you know, I've studied all forms of spirituality and religion just about. It's just a lot of different vocabulary words. It's a lot of different labels that are essentially saying the same thing.
And how many times do you repeat those, or for how long?
Oh, sometimes for an hour, sometimes
Really?
for 20 minutes. But I make it a point to say it a lot. That was my thing when I was competing. I made a vow to say it 1,000,000 times a year, the mantra, and that's 3,000 times a day. And when you're saying it that, you know what happens? Actually, it happened to me. The biggest effect it had on me was in '79 when I took the last month. I stayed in Palm Springs on this house we had there. That I just had all equipment in it, and I trained, and I just lived that all the time. And I said my mantra continuously. And after doing that for about 2.5 weeks, I was just so blissed out. Nothing could bring me. I mean, I was just blissful and joyous, and no concerns at all about anything. I was just totally the winner, and just everything fell in place too. And I had that attitude going back there that I'm there. Here I am. I'm there to get my 3rd title, you know, and that's the way it happened.
And whatever happened, I guess, wouldn't have mattered, I suppose. Were you attached to whatever happened? Were you, I guess...
I was what was happening.
Right.
I mean, I was so sure of it.
Yeah.
I just made sure that I was sure of everything because I had feedback on it.
Right.
You know, that's the whole thing. You got to get feedback to make these things work.
Really?
It's not about just being not legitimate or faking it. I could never do that. I could never get on stage and act like the winner if I didn't know that I really was or deserved it.
Yeah.
Couldn't. Still can't.
No.
You know, I can talk like we are now. I can talk for a while about stuff that I have experience with and know about, but ask me to talk about something else, like, you know, politics, although I delve in that, maybe I shouldn't now. But, you know, I'm not comfortable with it.
No.
So I usually don't say much.
Is it difficult? It sounds like I've tried similar things, and it's quite difficult to, you know, it's almost like a workout in your mind. Have you found it's fairly difficult to be able to do that on a regular basis? And what are some of the things that you could share to be able to be successful at doing those mantras? Because it's quite difficult, isn't it? I guess. Somewhere thinking.
You know, most of the thinking is what you might call discrimination. It's putting things in categories, or it's getting into polarities, like, dislike, yes, no, hot, cold, war. The way I work on feeling about things is it's all one thing. It's not two things. It's not opposites. Those are just opposite ends of the same thing. You know, it's all about the thing itself, which is not. It's one. So everything for me is one. Now you can say, oh, look at that, or look at that. You know, they're opposite aspects of it. And that's what the yin-yang is about. It's one turns into the other. They have, if you look at the symbol,
right,
there's a dot of that one and this one. They eventually become the other. And that's the way everything is. Every solution to problems eventually turns into a problem itself.
Every solution to a problem.
It's going to become a problem down the line.
Which becomes a solution, I suppose.
Then you have to come up with another solution.
Right.
Just like, all the waste products with plastic being dumped in the oceans and all that. I mean, there's a solution to that. For one thing, I saw this on TV. There's these people that take all those bottles, those plastic bottles, and make islands out of them. They get like 100,000 of them and just glue them all together, and they make an island. And there are islands out there. And the other, if you could, by fusion, if you could get the energy involved in fusion, there would solve all the energy problems forever in the world. There's so much energy, atomic energy in matter. Like E equals mc squared. The energy in something is equal to the mass of it times the speed of light squared. 186,000 miles per second squared. I mean, that is, in my fingernail, there's enough energy to light, you know, La Mesa for a year. So, you know, and that's in our future somewhere. I mean, I don't know if we're going to be around for that, but things are happening pretty fast.
Yeah.
They are.
Yeah. So coming back to that thinking, which you've obviously it's been quite important for your life. Then, if there was something that you could teach us how to, and I know it's in a lot of your books as well. What advice would you give to me to be able to, where should I start, and how should I go about it, to be able to sort of get to where you've been with your mantras and blocking out things that you don't want to fill in your mind. What would be some of the sort of steps I could take?
Well, don't go along with negativity. One of the things I think is clean up your speech. Talk the right way. In other words, I made it a point, for example, not to use powerless speech. And for example, I don't say things like, that makes me. Like, that makes me angry. That's an admission that there's something that has control over you. That's not you. Don't say it. I don't mean it. The other thing is don't use negative body metaphors, expressions that put negative energy on your body. Or chores to build a body, not to make it harder. So don't say things like, that makes me sick, or I can't stand that, or I can't handle that, or that's a pain in the neck, or get off my back. All those things label energy in your body and tends to stick it there. Now, that's not my idea. I mean, there's bioenergetics, the whole thing, that's the concept they operate on, is basically we store trauma in our joints and our muscles. And that's where we have problems. Now, whether it's related to exactly what we're saying, like if you're saying pain in the neck and you have a pain, I found out what happens with that is if you constantly use expressions like that and you think that way, you'll find ways to create a literal pain in the neck for yourself. Unconsciously, you'll just do it to yourself because it's below the level of awareness that you have. And so I have a level of awareness about that. And basically, I don't use those expressions. And if somebody else uses them, I tend to correct them.
Right. So the language is important.
Yeah, language is important, right speech. And then I try not to be negative. I am sometimes. Like, I try not to gossip or say things about people. Sometimes it's just hard to resist. They're too funny.
Yeah, like Trump.
No.
But,
I mean, in a way, this guy has been valuable for me because I learned how I don't want to be. Because I can see parts of I can see this narcissism in myself too that he exhibits in a most profound, over-the-top way. But I can see these inklings there that could, it could be a seed that grows into a weed.
Seed that grows into a weed.
Yeah. So you gotta keep the weeds at bay. And you can't use Roundup either.
And in terms of a ritual, like is there a time, like is there something in the day where it's like, okay, find 20 minutes and
That's a good thing. During the day, that's I think the Islamic thing of praying 5 times a day. I think that's a great idea. I think people should do stuff like that. I mean, you don't have to pray with the rug and all that stuff, but you can meditate. You can do that anywhere. You don't need anything to do that. You could just be sitting. I'm meditating right now. I say that to some people, but it's true. The thing about it I like too is there's all kind of little devices that different companies come out with. Like there's one I didn't bring it down here with me. I think it's called the EM squared. It's put out by the Institute of Heart Math. It's basically like a biofeedback meditation machine. You clip it to your ear and it reads out your pulse. And then basically it starts a light going up and down, and you breathe with it. And it'll take you to, if it comes on as red, it means you're sort of scrambled, you're not coherent. Right. And then it'll come on as blue, it means you're getting focused and more relaxed. And then it'll come on as green, it means you're there.
Wow.
And so I do that usually a lot in the mornings.
How long do you do that for?
Not long. I just want to get there.
Okay.
It's like me shooting archery. If I get the bullseye, I quit sometimes.
Where do you get those machines?
You can't get any better.
No.
Just go to heartmath.com.
HeartMath.
HeartMath. It's called They have different ones. They have ones for your cell phone you could use, but I've had this one for a while.
And it helps you get into that right mental state.
It's about, the thing is about keeping your focus. That's really what it's all about, is maintaining your focus. And that's what everything depends on, is not being dispersed and being scattered all the time. You never get anywhere that way. You got to be focused so you could be on the path and going in the right direction.
Yeah.
And then there's a saying, the path is the goal.
The path is the goal.
There's no final goal.
No.
I mean, where is it? How would you know you reached it? You never know.
So did you realize when you was at one point in your life, was Mr Olympia your final goal, your final destination?
Not one time.
Not one time.
I want to go 2 times at least. And then.
So did you change that from it being?
I started hanging out with powerlifters, and they sort of encouraged me to maybe grow a little bit more muscle, and I did. And I came back in '79. I was bigger than I was before, and actually in better shape, because I trained harder, and I did slow negatives. And so my goal was at the point to win it 3 times, and then when I did, I wanted to win it 4. Now, it seems that 3 is a great number for me. It seems to be one of my lucky numbers. I mean, when you think about it, there's a whole branch of mathematics devoted to 3. It's called trigonometry. It's the science of triangles. I taught that. I taught trigonometry. So 3 is a big number for me, and I mean.
How does that relate to you saying though it's the path, because you just sort of said then there is no end place, but yet when you was doing the Olympia, you was striving for that end place.
Well, the end place is a short-term goal.
Okay. The
long-term goal is your whole life.
Okay.
And see, you really don't know what's next. And so you could say, well, I've reached my goal, it's all over, I can just relax. No, it's never like that. It's always in motion.
Did you know that at the time that was just a stepping stone? You didn't. When did you get that wisdom?
Now. A minute ago. No, I've sort of come to realize that all along. There's no final state. I mean, if there were, how would you know what you're at? I mean, maybe I should have stopped Olympia after knowing now that this is all what happened. It might have been the best thing to do. But then I was thinking, well, what am I going to do now?
Right.
I wanted that goal. I wanted that path. I wanted the path to keep going. And I did keep going, but basically what stopped me was injury. Could have kept going, but I just got too injured.
But you went on a different path anyway, I guess, didn't you?
Well, yeah. I mean, I realized that I had a torn rotator cuff when I stopped already. I know I had to take care of that. And I knew that I had things in place to start teaching it more so than competing anymore. I didn't want to be one of those guys that keep going in contests and it just gets further and further and further. I've seen it happen. And then I realized that really what's the status of body awareness with people? It's absent. Body awareness is absent in people. I've never been anybody that knows what they look like. Not exactly. There's people that think they look better, most men, and people that think they look worse than they really do, most women.
Yeah.
But the fact is, if you're relying on what you look like in the mirror, you'll never really know. That's why you need to take photos of yourself so you can see yourself the way other people do. That's very important. And take all kind of photos. Take bad photos, because that's the way people see you sometimes. There's a real interesting spiritual movement called the Gurdjieff-Ouspensky School. And basically, there's something, it's sort of like ongoing meditation called self-remembering. And the best analogy I could find on that is basically, it's like an internal and external visualization. It's you seeing yourself, you observing yourself as you are now from in here, and you observing yourself as you are from out there, as if you're taking photos of yourself.
Wow.
You're taking photo after photo. See, so this had really deep meaning for me, this taking photos. I was learning to see myself the way other people do. Isn't that what it's all about? People go through life thinking they know what they don't. Most of the time they look like fools to other people. Like I see bodybuilders, everybody's looking at me for the wrong reasons. They think you're a freak. They're not saying, oh, look how splendid he looks. No, they're not thinking that at all. They think you look abnormal. But they get off on that because they're that's one of the 3 poisons. You know what the 3 poisons are?
No.
Anger, greed, and stupidity. That's what holds us back. Anger and greediness, lust, greed, same thing. Avarice, same thing. Anger and stupidity is just foolishness. Thinking we know stuff we don't.
And when you say you're looking at, I guess, do you mean it deeper than just physically looking at your physical body? Are you also meaning that to be like, who you are, as part of that body? So, looking at yourself, what your actions and your...
Yeah, if you want to take behavior if you want to extend it to that, sure. But I mean, this is a limited application. I'm just taking
Yeah.
pictures of myself, which, you know, this is all an illusion because there's no such thing as a still photo.
No.
I mean, and not in reality. Everything's moving all the time. We're freezing you for a minute, for a second.
Right.
And we're getting that as, those are not real. They are flashes. What's real is the flow.
Yeah.
You know, and it just keeps going on, and it doesn't stop. And we keep going on too. I think that we've been around for a long time. I think I have been.
Really?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Well, I believe in evolution. I think that I have all that awareness in me of all those lower life forms below me. And as a matter of fact, we go through those stages when in our from the time of conception up till the time of maturity. We're going through the same evolutionary stages, that life that has come on before us. And we have that awareness. It's manifested in our early development.
Do you think sometimes we forget that then, or have you got
I
to
don't think
try?
we forget. I don't think we believe it at
You don't
all.
believe it, right?
You know, we think that, you know, God created us in His image. I don't believe that.
No.
I think my parents created me, and I created God.
That's interesting.
I think God exists because I think He exists. I believe, and I think that God really does exist. The Christian God really exists. Is very powerful. These people are mocking it up all the time, feeding it. That's how things get. That's how reality comes to play. I don't not believe that. I just don't think it happened that way. I don't think that God made everything.
So you believe you were here before?
Yes.
You're right.
I think I've always been here.
Really? In what way? In a kind of
In
an
some
energy,
form.
or you?
Jivantiya.
What does that mean?
It means sort of like soul.
Right.
But it's basically that part of me that has always existed and that continues to exist life after life.
Right.
And so I can come back if I want to, if I desire to come back as a body. But basically, it's not what you would call emancipation, being free from the cycle of birth and death and all that. I mean, I have no idea what any of that is like, but I just feel, I read this stuff and I think, whoa, this is so cool. This feels like lofty inspiration from it. The thing about it is this, is if there is no objective reality, which is what I believe, I don't think there's I don't think that's fixed out there. I think we're projecting our perceptual template onto it and making it real for us so we can understand what it is.
Yeah.
And that's a product of our education and our training. And so if that's the way it is, why can't it be any way I want it to be? Why not? And so that's what I'm about. I want to make things the way I want them to be. You know, and somebody tells me, that's the way it is for you, okay? It's not necessarily for me. I mean, it could be any way I want it to be. And so it's
You're
all
a creator, I guess, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. We're all creators. We're creating all this stuff, and we create everything for ourselves. And why not? What a great thing to believe. Either believe that or believe that you're doomed and you're going to hell. Why?
Yeah, when I look around now and like your music, you know, your body, and now your mind, you know, you're constantly creating.
Well, it's like the path is the goal. I'm getting better at it.
The path is the goal.
Yeah, you see, I'm not perfect. I mean, I keep practicing. I keep practicing, and with the practice, I get a little bit better each day, each time I do it. And so that's really what it's all about, you know.
And as a teacher, is that, you know, if there was, you know, giving some of your life lessons, you know, if you had to sort of try and wrap that up, you know, as what would your sort of lesson be that you would like to leave? If it was you know, you're teaching that class again, what would be the title of your lesson? Or the subject of your lesson?
The British have a good saying, keep calm and carry on. That pretty well says it.
Yeah.
Don't worry. Don't be upset. Don't be nervous. Call it excitement. Keep calm. Calm excitement, and do the job at hand, do the task at hand. So, you know, when it comes, there's two things for me. One is doing the task at hand, and then I'm focused on the task at hand. And when I'm not doing anything, I'm operating with a clear mind,
Right.
saying my mantra, whatever, to clear my mind out. Do you ever notice? I mean, as you get older, it seems like, I don't know if the memory's getting worse or if I don't remember things because it's better that I forget. But I was trying to think of who this guy, the names just escape me sometimes. We're out for a walk, our morning constitutional. I was thinking, what's that guy's name that plays Trump on Saturday Night Live? And for the whole time I was thinking, I just couldn't think of his name. And finally got home and I was just not doing anything and it flashed in my mind, Alec Baldwin. And I realized I didn't know that name because I hadn't made an association with it. And so right at that moment, I made an association, and I will never forget this again, that it's Alec Baldwin that played him, because I think of Trump as being bald with that flat top hair. He's bald guy, so it's Baldwin. So now I got it. And so I didn't have it before because I didn't have an association for it. I didn't have a hook for it. And that's what memory is. It's actually a bunch of hooks that you've already planted there from similarity, and you put things on those, you know. So, I mean, I'm learning.
Still.
Yeah, I'm still learning. And getting slightly better at stuff. But I just would like to be, I'd like to last as long as I can on this earth.
Yeah.
So I want to get all the stuff done that I can. And I don't know how long that's going to be. I'm just going to, stay healthy and do the best job I can.
I guess it comes to everyone. It's one thing.
Well,
that's
you don't think
guaranteed.
about that stuff when you're younger, but when the older you get, the more I think about it. Actually, I was thinking about it when I was younger too.
Really?
Yeah, when my father died, I was thinking about it a lot. That was when I was like, 1969.
Did it scare you?
It does to some extent. In a way it does, but in a way it doesn't. Because I realize that everything I'm experiencing in that state or up to that state, it's all in my mind. And that everything's in my mind. The world, it's my world, it's in my mind. My world is that. And so if I'm scared, then it's my mind doing it. And so why do that? Yeah, but see, that logic is not always there in place like that. And so I want to have it so that it's there more. And that's where the mantras come in. The mantras sort of usher in that statement with it, that feeling with it.
Do you think over, as you've got older, because I guess you're at a different stage of me and I'm still working things out. Do you see as you get older, 60s, 70s, and you're coming on 77 shortly, that you get better at those things, or you just still got to work as hard as you did when you was 40s and 50s?
I don't know if I'm getting better, but I think I'm getting more motivated to stay in that frame of thought, of thinking that way and getting better at doing it. I've thought that, I want it to be glorious when I pass away, that there's something in Buddhism called the rainbow body, where people who see things as they really are in their life, basically, when they die, basically their body shrinks down. And, this is something that happens as you get older anyway. You shrink.
Really?
I'm smaller than I used to be. I'm shorter and I weigh a lot less. And so I think it keeps going because your body sort of, to conserve what's still left, it goes in on itself. And basically you shrink down, and eventually what happens is your body turns into what it really has been all along, is light. We're light, basically. We're lumens. If you magnify something as much as you can, you get pixelation. It's basically it's about light. And so that's the thing is I want to. And the thing is, you never really guaranteed any of this stuff to be true. I mean, it's a lot of faith. I think that the thing about faith is, believing in things that are uplifting, that help you and can help other people, because you're helping yourself.
Right.
And I think that's the main thing, is help yourself first. Because if you don't, you're not going to be able to help anybody else. If you're a pendejo, as they say in Spanish, you're never going to be able to help anybody. You don't know that word? Pendejo?
I don't know.
It means fool.
Full.
Fool.
Full.
Full. Fool. F-O-O-L.
Oh, full, yeah.
Or asshole.
Well, I guess that's right. If you, it is faith, and you don't know. Nobody's going to know. So if you got to choose a faith, then probably choose one that's going to serve you instead of one that doesn't.
And there's no arguing with somebody else's faith either, because that's what's real for them.
Yeah.
Why should I want to destroy that for them? I mean, that's cruel.
Yeah.
You know, if somebody's peaceful and fine in there, and it's not what I think. Why would it? That's them. It's not me.
No.
It's fine. It's working for you. Yeah, go ahead.
If it serves you, and it is, I guess it's like bodybuilding. There's no real. It's subjective, and so find something that serves you as opposed to something that doesn't, because you're never going to know.
You know what gets me is people in the world who are so insecure that they can't have somebody near them that believes differently than them. They're the people that want to convert you to their way of thinking and their religion. And I get that. Every now and then people think I'm some kind of atheist. I'm not. I really have a profound system of belief, but it's not theirs.
No.
And see, since it's not, and since I'm not accepting Jesus Christ as my personal Savior all the time and talking everybody into that, it's not good enough for them.
Yeah.
So they want to convert me. They don't realize that I've already been there and done that. I grew up all through that. So I know what all that's like. And you know, I mean, fine. I mean, it's been very helpful. But I don't try to impose that on other people. I mean, not my way. I don't really go out and, you know, try to convince people what I'm saying is right. I mean, I'd like that, but, you know, it's nice to have people in your Venn diagram with you.
Yeah. But I guess you've got a philosophy that you could fit a belief into it. But there's a framework, I guess, that you follow, which seems to kind of help you, you know, navigate a good life. And I guess a lot of people are still struggling with those things. You know, they're filling their minds with stuff that they shouldn't do and blah, blah, blah. And I suppose you've got a philosophy. What you put into it, what you believe is up to everybody. I kind of get that. It makes sense now. But choose something that's going to make your life nice as opposed to not.
Well, you know, I mean, the proof of all of this is how you are in your life and how you come off to other people. And if you're at peace, which I think is the goal of all of it, be at peace, you know, at one means that. And people pick up on that. You don't have to say anything. The vibe comes out. And, you know, I think that's our natural state, but it's covered over with a lot of crap and stuff that we don't want. So I'm just doing my best to get to move on, to keep moving onward.
So what is sort of what unfinished business have you got? Yeah, I know you've got your books, and I know Judy said we need to talk about this, and I've kept you for a while. But tell me about some of the things you're working on and that you've got, that are coming out.
Well, we got the Zane Defined movie coming out next year, and we're shooting, bits and pieces here and there.
And what's that?
It's going to be more about personal growth than bodybuilding, and it's going to be very artistically rendered, because the people that are shooting it are very good in that respect. You know, they look at the shot for symmetry and balance and everything. It's going to be very visual,
right?
As well as some meaning. But I really don't know everything about it because I'm not writing. The script is my book Symmetry. It's basically my life story. But I don't know how much of that it's going to be directly in the movie.
Right.
It's not going to be your typical bodybuilding movie, like Generation Iron or any of those. It's going to be more about something for everybody in personal growth and, my story, what it's been like for me. But, I don't know. I try to think of my goal was to make it to 77. And now
that's not very far away.
I'm about to achieve that. I guess my next stop is maybe 81.
Because 77 was a special year for you, wasn't it? It
was the year of Zane.
Yeah.
And actually, all these years, 77, 78, they all got better. And so I sort of look at that. I mean, it's just a little game I play with myself, I think about my age in terms of the year that I lived and what it was like then. So 77, I advertised in a magazine. First year I won the Olympia, I advertised 77, the year of Zane. I started putting that out there. And so now I'm living the year of Zane now again.
Fantastic.
In 78, I was even better than I was in 77 and won it again. In 79, I was the best as I got. So I think 79 will be a good year too. I'll make it that way.
Yeah.
And then 81 will be great because that's a year that I think that I could have won Olympia if I would have competed that year. But who knows? I mean, you know what gets me is I'm not really that afraid or fear passing away. I just don't like thinking about the gap I'll leave.
Yeah.
Like with my wife and, you know, leaving her and all this behind.
Mm.
I mean, I know there's something else, but the fact that you have to leave and that everybody has to leave, nobody gets out of here alive. But we have an exit vehicle. That's the thing, is I want to make sure that my exit vehicle is as good as it could be.
Yeah.
And I want to take the rest of my life to build it into that. And so the meditation, that all helps. It all helps. All these things I'm doing mentally, it really helps.
Yeah.
You know, and expressing myself and writing and teaching, and you know, I mean, there's a great feeling I get from teaching, and I realized this when I was teaching school, that I would have a great lesson, about every 2 weeks. So I figured, I think I could still do that, and I tend to do it here. And so I generally, each one is usually like that. Yeah. Usually it is. Very seldom I get somebody that doesn't agree with me and stuff. They're always, you know, I guess it's a sort of deference to me in a way, a lot of it, but I think they come here to get the experience of what it's like to do this stuff and what my experience of it's been and how it can translate into theirs too.
Yeah. So you got your movie, you've got a podcast which you're starting shortly as well.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
That's coming out soon.
Yeah, we want to have one, talk to Samir Banu and Danny Hester. Was the first Mr Olympia, we call classic physique. It's more of the under 200-pound guys that used to be in the 70s. They've recreated that.
Right.
And so he's really good. And that's the thing. These guys are really good, but they're just not 300 pounds, you know. And so that just to make it more popular and to basically to educate people as to the power of building the body. We don't like even calling it bodybuilding because it's got sort of a negative rap. I like calling it building the body because, you know, basically it's a tremendously powerful thing. We have the ability to change what we look like. Who else can say that? You can't, there's nothing else like that. There's nothing else, yoga, I mean, yeah, it's good. Flexibility, stretching, all that, but I mean, why do these people don't look that good? Running, yeah, you get in shape aerobically, but I never saw runners that look that good. Now, not that bodybuilding can't do some yoga and running too, they can, but just integrate all this so you have a tremendous thing. And we have all this apparatus we use, like machines and free weights and all this stuff, and you know, mind muscle machines, like here's that mind muscle machine, that was the newest one.
This is one of your machines, yeah?
Well, this isn't even available yet. I'm just testing it out. It's pretty neat. This white cord is for sound. This gives a beeping sound. You might hear just one of them in your ear.
Yeah.
And then you put these glasses on.
Wow. And what is it?
This one is called Quick Energy.
Right.
Now it's counting down.
Okay.
Now I'll be able to, it'll come on very dim. It'll probably come on with blue lights.
And what is it sort of meant to do to me?
Well, it'll give you some quick energy.
Oh, okay.
It'll start pumping up pretty soon. Let me know if you hear any sound. I'm going to pump up the sound. Hear any sound? It'll be like
I can see the lights.
Okay. I can make them brighter.
Oh, yeah.
They're blue?
Yeah, that's cool.
All right, I can change that color. Green?
Yeah.
All right. See, green is nice. That's very relaxing.
Yeah.
So basically, this is a meditation.
Oh, so this is one of your...
Yeah, it's meditation on light and sound.
Well, I'm going to have to get one of these. I need to, I've been talking about it since we last met a year ago, and I need to...
Contact me in about a month. We'll have more info. They don't even have any, they just send them to me. I got to tell them if I like it or not. But I like this a lot.
Yeah.
There's another one they have too. This one I think is going to retail for $250.
Yeah.
And they have another one that's like $350. This is called the the lumina, or the
lumina.
limina, L-I-M-I-N-A, the limina, and the other one is called the casina.
Right.
That's a more deluxe one. The casina, basically, that's a meditation. I used to do those. I used to make color casinas, which were big circles that were colored, and I would stare at them like this right in front of me. So you'd have a field, a Ganzfeld field.
I can feel it now. It's sort of a
Yeah.
soothing.
Well, see, you do this before you go to bed. It'll help you fall asleep.
Yeah, I need one of them.
Yeah, I do this I have one of these that I use for that every night.
I bet it's
Not
good
this
also
one.
if you're on the plane, if you're flying
Oh,
somewhere.
it's great. You should always take one on the plane.
Yeah.
You're traveling, yeah. That's a great way to pass the time.
And people can get on your website, can they?
Yeah.
They will be able to. The new
They have the casina for sale right now, but this Lumen is going to be a while before we get the data on it.
Right.
But I like this one a lot.
Well, look, Frank, I've kept you for a long time. I'm sure there'll be a part 3. Maybe when you're
Just
at your...
let me know when you're ready.
Yeah. There's a lot to digest there. I think there's
Yeah, we could just keep going.
Yeah, there's quite a few volumes of stuff. But Frank, I really appreciate your time. It's been fantastic. And, I'm looking forward to the 1981. Fantastic. Thank you, Frank. That's wonderful.
Okay, my pleasure.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed this podcast. If you did, then please go over to iTunes and subscribe to the Escape Your Limits podcast. Leave a review, leave a comment. It really would help us a lot to continue to keep these going.